Hey there, this is Dr. Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, and today we're going to be talking about spacers or separators. Why do you need them? Why should you be prepared to do them if you're doing any kind of ortho? How do you put them in? What are the options? Things like that. So this video is going to be more directed towards doctors and doctors' offices, dentist offices, staff, teams. But patients, if you're on here too, you're welcome to learn about it. So in any case, if you're doing any kind of braces in your office, you should know how to place spacers or separators just in case. I think right now standard of care is probably to go ahead and bracket the molars, but sometimes you have a really stubborn tooth or sometimes you have a really non-compliant patient. That means a patient that's not following the rules and is breaking brackets. Sometimes you have just the way the bite is, it keeps breaking. Honestly, for the most part, if your brackets are breaking, it's either the doctor's fault for not isolating correctly, prepping correctly, or going through the steps correctly, or it's the patient's fault for eating things he, she is not supposed to do. That's just my disclosure. But the occasional one-off does happen. One of the one-offs that I want to mention is if you have a crown on a tooth, especially a gold crown, you can't glue to that, so you have to band it. So a lot of times with gold crown teeth, I recommend you just do aligners. Porcelain crowns, sometimes you can bond to porcelain crowns. It really depends on the properties of what the porcelain's made of, and the dentist might not even know if he or she did not place the crown. I like to say the nicer the crown is, the more pretty, high end and shiny it is, the worse it bonds. That's generally my experience. The more junky the crown is, the better it bonds. So, and if you aren't prepared to drill on your patient's crown, or if you as a patient aren't prepared to have a crown replaced, sometimes it's better that you get a band. Anyway, so that's just my disclaimer. So there's two main ways that I put spacers on. One is with a pair of spacer separating forceps, and the other one is with floss. And honestly, when you first train, I want everyone to learn the floss technique. It's universal. You don't have to have this sterilized. You can prep these way ahead of time and have them ready to go. Like if you have some downtime and just have tons of them waiting around, they're so easy to put in. You can also train patients to put them back in themselves. So basically you're taking one spacer, and by the way, spacers come in a variety of different thicknesses. This is just kind of your standard one. I don't even know what size it is. It just says spacers, but you'll see that some of them are thicker, thinner. There's also metal ones. I'm not a fan of those because I don't like the idea of patients swallowing them. I think these are really easy to put on. I mean, obviously your spacers shouldn't be old, so when you yank on them a little bit, they should go back to the way they are. So you just go ahead, make two U's out of it. I know this is gonna be a little tricky to see. Hopefully you can, whoopsies. Hopefully you can see it. And you go ahead and just floss just like you're flossing, okay? And granted, this is only gonna stay in if you have a patient that has contact between the teeth. If it doesn't have contact, you don't need it. So this is not necessarily the best example. But you're gonna go ahead and floss down and slowly shimmy just the top part of the spacer up. Sorry, this is a little tricky to do while I'm not actually sitting in the patient's mouth, but you can probably see what I'm doing. And if you pop it all the way up, don't worry, just do it again. Who cares? Ooh, perfect. So it should be like a little donut, okay? The bottom part of the donut should be under the contact. The top part of the donut should be above the contact, okay? You can see from the side. And it really depends on where the contact is, if it's more this way, this way, this way, this way. But, you know, this is obviously a kind of a loose spacer. This one might fall out. So on average, spacers stay in maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days, up to 2 weeks max. The ideal amount maybe is 5 to 7 days. So you have to schedule it accordingly. Again, you can have really, really hard ones to do. And if the patient doesn't have great hygiene and you try to do this, it's going to become a bloody mess. So you know, you want to remind patients before they do their spacers to make sure they've got good hygiene, because otherwise it can turn into a bit of a massacre, to say it in one way or another. It doesn't hurt them, it's just gross and bloody. Now, once you have the spacers in, during that period of time, what is it going to feel like? It's going to feel like there's chicken in between the patient's, or beef cut in between the patient's teeth. It kind of feels uncomfortable, like something stuck in there, a piece of corn. It's a little bit annoying. It can get achy at times. They might want to take some Motrin. They're going to want to pull it out. Like it feels like you want to pull it out, but you can't because it's in there for a reason. And if you leave it in for too long, it's going to fall out eventually on its own. So that's what a spacer is. Now, we showed you how to do it with the floss technique. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. Usually just, by the way, you're going to pull these out before you place the band just with a scaler or an explorer. But you can pull it out, and then I'm going to show you how to put it in with the spacer forcep. Now this one is buyer beware. If you're putting this one in And if you slip or ping it or it breaks while you put it in, you're going to gouge the patient's cheek. And I've seen some bad things happen. So you really need to be in control if you're going to do this. Usually when I do it, of course, I'm coming from a different direction. I might put my fingers on either side of it just to make sure I've got it more steady. Obviously, I can't do this because I'm holding the Typodont. But, I mean, it's relatively easy. You just kind of shimmy it in the same way, top part. And you can see that was significantly quicker than the floss technique and a lot less work. But you have to be careful, okay? That's pretty much it. That's your spacer. Hopefully that made a lot of sense today. Let us know if you have any questions. Again, this is part of our digital series. We're teaching doctors how to do different techniques. You're welcome to join our digital series. You can jump on at home. We can send you a kit and you can practice all kinds of things. Don't forget to go to StraightSmileSolutions.com, like us on Facebook, go to Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on LinkedIn. All right, thanks so much.